So at the top of your note sheet that I just gave you, and written up over here on the board, are the 4 formulas you need to know and understand how to use on your test. How to find the slope from 2 points. What slope-intercept looks like, slope-intercept equation, point-slope version of the equation, and standard form. These are the 4 things that you need to know and understand for the test. They're at the top of that page I just gave you, the top of your notes, and they are also part of the notes we used. Those are the big things for this chapter test. You have to know how to use those. You have to know how to apply them. Okay. This first example on your sheet is a perfect example from the standpoint it covers everything. I have a line. What can I do algebraically to describe that line? Okay. First thing I can do is I can find the slope of the line. Now, we have 2 ways of finding the slope. We will do them from both. On this one from the graph, I would actually just use, put in the triangle, count the squares. Okay. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going over.
Do we do section summaries like after?
No. Once in a while, I've had a couple of things that I've had you write down. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 going up. So the slope of the line is 10 over 5 or 2. Always reduce fractions. Rise over run. 12? Sorry, my bad. It's 10, not 12. My bad. Thank you for catching it. Okay. So 10 over 5, slope of 2. Okay, rise over run. Y-intercept. Well, the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my y-intercept is 5. Now, I did not write that as a coordinate, but I can write that as a coordinate. Okay, that coordinate would be the point 0, 5. The x-coordinate on the y-intercept, the x-coordinate on any point on the y-axis is 0. Okay, I'm going to need that for coming up for the next one. Equation of the line and slope-intercept. Or sorry, point-slope. So this is one where you're writing the equation of the line. Remember what I told you, everything that's in black stays the same. That always stays the same. You fill in the blanks. Okay. What goes here? Slope, which is what?
2.
2. In this case, it's 2. Okay. Now, for these 2 places here, this is an x-coordinate. Or sorry, this is a y-coordinate. This is the x-coordinate. I can use any point that I want to use. It doesn't matter. I can use any point that I want to use. For this one, I'm going to use that I already gave you. Okay, but I can use any point that the line goes through, and it will be a valid equation as long as it's a point that line passes through. Okay, the one that I gave you here is the one I'm going to use. 5 and 0. Questions? Pretty straightforward stuff. And like I said, you guys have been doing really well. You guys have been following along pretty good. I'm confident that you guys will do well on your test. Okay, and you guys seem to get this stuff down pretty good. I'm going to do this one down here. Equation of slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept, mx plus b. So I get y equals, my m is my slope. 2x, my y-intercept we figured out was 5. 2x plus 5. And then the last one I actually think is the most difficult one, writing it in standard form, because it's very difficult to write directly in standard form. Very difficult. Do not teach that because it's so difficult. I don't want to do it. Nobody likes doing it directly into standard form. What you want to do is take one of these 2 that we already have, either this one or this one, and rearrange it to put it in standard form. That's the easy one to do. Okay. So standard form, X's, Y's equals numbers, no fractions or decimals. So I'm going to take this equation, I'm going to rewrite it here. Y equals 2x plus 5. And I want to put the X's on the other side of the equation. So I have X's, Y's equals number. Always want it in that order. How many X's I have plus how many Y's I have equals some number. So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. And that goes minus 2x plus y equals 5. Now, what did your rules say about standard form?
Standard we go
No negatives on the x. That's the one I'm looking for. No fractions or decimals either. But no negatives on the x. But I have a negative 2x. What do I do?
times everything by negative.
Yeah, I just multiply everything times -1. Change the sign. 2x minus y equals -5. That's all you gotta do.
What do you use standard form?
I'll actually start using it in the next chapter. We'll do a lot of work with things in standard form in the next chapter. You'll see there. It's one of those ones that's goofy. It shows up, and if you have standard form, I use it for stuff. I don't generally, in almost any classes, convert other equations to standard form to use them, but if I already have them in standard form, I use them for stuff. And it will be useful. There are things, and you will see in the next chapter, where standard form is useful, and it's for solving systems of equations, which is the next chapter. And you'll see it being very useful in there. Very useful for standard form. Okay. It's also one for writing. The one time you can write equations in standard form easily is word problems. And we will have specific ones that will go into standard form that we will write. But just writing it from an equation, from a line, it's really hard to do from a line, but from a word problem, it's actually very easy to do. Okay. So we also talked about vertical lines and horizontal lines. Vertical lines, straight up and down. What's the slope of our vertical line? We have one here. What's the slope of that line?
It's undefined.
Undefined or no slope. Yeah. The slope is either undefined or no slope. It's undefined or no slope. It's one or the other. And the nice thing about those equations are always x equals. Always x equals. In this particular case, is x equals what? Where does it cross the x-axis? -3. X equals -3. Okay, our horizontal line. What's the slope of a horizontal line? Slope of 0. And there's a difference between 0 and no slope. There's a difference between the two. 0 has a particular value. It is a numerical value. No slope means we can't come up with any numerical value for it. Okay. And the equation for horizontal lines are always y equals. In this case, it's y equals 2. Okay. Next one. Find it in slope intercept. Find the equation line, slope intercept form. If m is 3, -3, b is 17. If our slope is -3, our y-intercept is 17. My bad. What's your equation? What is it? Somebody?
Y equals -3x plus 17.
It's a horrible lie even for me. Y equals -3x plus 17. Piece of cake, right?
I hate it how your guys' is formatted different. Because it's like, you guys get more room.
Yeah. Yeah, I did it specifically. I made this one up from your worksheet.
Yeah, no,
I cut and paste.
I know.
But you have plenty of room on your worksheet. Because I could fill that in, and I got big crappy handwriting.
No, I know, but I'm saying like you guys just like do a weird little scroll down thing. You have like another page of print.
Oh yeah. Okay. Now the next one is a little harder. It says find the equation line passing through the point 6,5 and negative 410 in point slope form and then slope intercept. So I have to come up with two equations. But for both of those, I need to know my slope. Your first step, find the slope. Do that now. Using the slope formula, those two coordinates, find the slope. Now, I did this. I put the 5-6 coordinate before the, the 6-5 coordinate before the negative 410. If you had them the other way around, guess what? You're still going to get the same answer in the end. You'll end up with 5 over negative 10, which will end up giving you still negative 1/2 as your slope. Now, this fine equation line passing through 6,5 and negative 410 in point slope form. There are two possible answers for this. They're both going to start out like that, and I'm going to put one over here. Point slope formula. And you fill in the blanks. Okay. The one thing they have in common is the slope. And then you put in the points. Now, I can put in either one. And you, on your test, you don't have to give me both answers. I will have both answers on the answer key. I will have both equations on the answer key. But I will not require you to give me both of the equations. But you should understand that there are two possibilities. Now, the one I'm going to put up here, and for a reason for me, is I'm going to put the first one using 6,5. 5 goes here, 6 goes there. And over here on this one, put the other coordinate, 10 for the y, and negative 4 for the x. The only thing I would do on this one is change my double negative to a positive. It's the only thing I would do that, and if you didn't do that on the test, I wouldn't mark you down for it. Okay. So, two possible answers. There's one, there's the other. But are we done yet? No, because it also says, and then in slope intercept, which means I need to make this y equals mx plus b. Pretty easy to do. Your first step, distribute the negative 1/2. Y minus 5 equals negative 1/2 x. Negative 1/2 times negative 6. Negative times negative is a positive. Half of 6 is 3. Right? Now I need to get y by itself, so I add 5 to both sides. Y equals negative 1/2 x plus 8.
Yeah, I figured out if you just added the point slope, you get the slope intercept.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it.
And if you did the other one and rearrange this, you'd get the same thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter which one you start with, you'll end up the same in the end. Gentlemen, stop acting like stooges. Okay, Next one, find the equation of the line in slope-intercept form passing through that point parallel to y equals negative 2x minus 7. Okay, what's true about parallel lines? They have the same what? Same slope. They have the same slope. They have the same. They're not the same lines. There's a difference between being parallel lines and being the same equation. They have the same slope. So the slope of this line is negative 2. So the slope of my new line is negative 2 because they're parallel, negative 2. It's lousy negative 2. I can't write it in slope-intercept form because I don't know my intercept. But I can write it in point slope and make it slope-intercept. Y minus my y-coordinate, negative 1, equals my slope times x minus my x-coordinate, which is 5. That's not my final answer, but I have to start there to get my final answer. But from here, it's easy. Take the double negative, make it positive. So you get y plus 1. Take the negative 2 and distribute. Negative 2 times x. Negative 2 times negative 5. Subtract 1 from each side. Y equals negative 2x plus 9. Questions? So, fairly straightforward, but if you can do all this stuff, you'll be fine on the test. If you can do all this stuff, you'll be fine on the test. That's the idea behind this. Questions before I move on? This will be posted. The answer key, I don't know if the answer key is posted or not, but this will be posted for sure. Okay, find the equation of the line slope-intercept passing through negative 6, 3 perpendicular to. Okay, perpendicular slopes are opposite inverses. So the slope of this one is 2/5. So what's the slope of this one going to be? What's the slope of this one going to be? My new line.
5/2.
Negative 5/2 because they're perpendicular. Negative 5/2. Yeah, everything should be there. I just moved it up. All right. So do that. Write the equation. Do what we just did. Same thing we just did, only with the new slope. Your first step, fill in the blanks. Put in the y-coordinate. Put in your x-coordinate. Put in your slope. Now, this is point slope formula. You want it in slope-intercept. Have to rearrange. Once again, not terribly difficult as long as there's not ugly fractions involved. Okay. Change the double negative to a positive. Y minus 3 equals, and then distribute. Negative 5/2 x, that's easy. Negative 5/2 times positive 6. So negative times positive, I know I've got a negative. 5 halves times 6. Well, what's half of 6?
It's
3. What's 3 times 5?
15.
15.
That's pretty quick.
Add 3 to both sides. Y equals negative 5 halves x plus, well, sorry, minus 12. Questions before we do the next one?
Can you scroll up for a moment?
Scroll up.
Do that other problem.
We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it. So I am going to move this so that way we can see this one a little bit better. We have not done a lot of graphing in here. Okay. There will be a couple of graphs on the test, not a lot. I'm not going to grade them very typically because we haven't done a lot of graphing on the test. You did do graphing before. We did the graphing, what I actually, from standard form, pretty easy, find x and y intercept. That we're going to talk about more in detail. We did not do a lot of graphing from the y-intercept, slope-intercept. To graph from slope-intercept, you need to identify your slope and intercept. What's my slope for that equation? 1 over 2. What's my y-intercept? Negative 3. So on your y-axis, put a dot at negative 3. From that point, and the biggest error students make is they don't do the slope from here, they do the slope from the origin. They always go to, I don't know why. You go from the y-intercept, you go from that point. Do your rise and run. Okay, my slope is 1 over 2. My rise is 1, my run is 2. Up 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2, put another dot, and my line goes through it. That's it.
Parents shouldn't take him to Starbucks before he goes to school.
I don't go to Starbucks.
All right, all right, all right, all right. So we haven't done a lot of this. There will be a couple of questions on the test. I will grade them very leniently. If I see you headed in any way whatsoever in the right direction, you will get credit because we haven't done a lot of this part together. Okay, does that make sense? We will spend more time with graphing at another time. I'm more worried about being able to rearrange equations. Now this we have done. Okay? And I like this. Finding x and y-intercept. To find the x-intercept, or sorry, let's start with the y-intercept. So let's find the y-intercept.
But why?
Cover up the x.
Coming up the 3 of the x.
So you get negative 2y equals 6. Some smarty pants. I didn't even know if you could reach that. I don't want to hear it.
Ooh.
Luke, he didn't ask you to get up. He just said that.
Yeah.
Still can.
Yeah, with your hand. Now look what you did to my board.
Oh.
That's 'cause he said the wrong down.
Okay, so let x equal 0. What do you have left? Solve for y. Divide by negative 2. Y equals negative 3. That's my y-intercept. Go on the y-axis, negative 3, put a dot. Cover up the y-coordinate, or cover up the y. You get 3x equals 6. Divide both sides by 3, x equals 2. Put a dot at 2.
Put a dot.
Draw your lines through the 2 points. Gentlemen. Now, I like this one. I actually prefer this type of graphing. This is I think, easy. Find the x-intercept, find the y-intercept. We did do several of these together. I will be a little more strict on finding them. But if I have to graph this, I'm looking for this. I'm looking for this. I'm looking for the line. I'm going to look for both the intercepts and correct graphing from it. Okay. Determine if they're parallel or perpendicular. what do I need to do is I need to find the slopes. This one, my slope is what? 2.
Yeah.
This one, I have to rearrange to find my slope. 2x plus 4y equals 4. I need to solve for y. You need to get y equals. Subtract 2x. 4y equals negative 2x plus 4. Divide everything by 4. And I get y equals negative 1/2, because we always reduce our fractions, x plus 1. So the slope of this line is negative 1/2. Now I compare them. Are they the same? Are the slopes the same? No. So they're not parallel. Are they opposite inverses? Okay. If you're not sure, here's an easy thing to do. Multiply them. Take this slope times that slope. 2 times negative 1/2. When I multiply 2 times negative 1/2, I get negative 1. If you get negative 1 when you multiply the two slopes, they are perpendicular. And that's the symbol for perpendicular, and you'll be using it a lot next year in geometry.
Upside down T.
Upside down T, perpendicular lines. Two little lines next to each other, parallel lines. Perpendicular lines.
So it's like you're actually like making.
Shorthand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Mathematicians, generally speaking, are a lazy lot when it comes to writing things.
So
They don't mind doing the work. They like showing the work. They like doing the math. They like doing the algebra. But we don't like writing long words. So we come up with something else instead of writing out the word perpendicular. We came up with a symbol.
So could you say that mathematicians aren't very good at English?
No, we're good. We're better at English than they are at math.
You just don't feel
Okay.
How does that even work? How would you know? Because you're not an Englishician. Or how does that
Okay.
listening?
They have like
So top one, determine slope and y-intercept. In other words, write it in slope-intercept. Find mx plus b. Go ahead and do that. Rearrange it. Solve for y. Solve for y, your first step. Move the x's to the other side. Subtract 3x from both sides. You get negative 2y equals negative 3x plus 8. Divide everything by negative 2, because I want positive y. Negative 2, negative 2, negative 2. And then I get these cancel, so I get y equals negative 3 over negative 2 becomes positive 3 over 2x. And then 8 divided by negative 2 is negative 4. Okay, so the last three problems, write them in standard form, rearrange them, x's, y's equals numbers. First one, y equals 2/3 x minus 1. My first step, get rid of the fraction. Okay, to get rid of the fraction, it's easy. Multiply by the denominator. What's my denominator of my fraction?
3.
3. Multiply everything times 3. 3 times everything. 3 times everything. 3 times y, 3y. 3 times 2/3, 2. 3 times -1, -3. No more fractions. First step I want to do, get rid of my fractions. Now I need to move my x's over. Subtract 2x. I get -2x plus 3y equals -3. Am I done?
Yeah.
No, because what do I need to have? Positive 2x. Right? The rules say this needs to be positive. Multiply everything times -1. Basically change the sign. 2x minus 3y equals 3. Next one, similar idea. First step, get rid of the parentheses. Distribute the -2.
Wait, what? Wait, okay.
Y minus 3 equals -2x plus 12. Watch your negatives and positives. Move the 2x over to the other side. So I add 2x. 2x plus y minus 3 equals 12. What do I need to do to finish off?
Add the 3.
Add 3 to both sides.
So
2x plus y equals 15. And then last but not least,
m equals 3, b equals negative.
yeah,
Like, wait.
gentlemen. So yeah, my first step is to actually write the equation in slope-intercept because that's what I'm given. I'm given the slope and the intercept. Y equals 3x minus 5.
Oh,
And then rearrange it.
Why can't they arrange it? They even gave you the thing. They could arrange it themselves.
No, you can't do it in standard form directly from that information. So what's my first step?
add the, yeah, subtract the 3.
Subtract 3x. -3x plus y equals -5. And then I need to,
Subtract or times everything by negative.
yeah, I want positive 3x's times -1. 3x minus y equals 5. Piece of cake. Question. This is what you need to know for your test. Okay? You need to know how to do this material. If you know how to do this material, you're not going to have any issues tomorrow. If you don't know how to do this material, you're going to have to get prepared for it. Okay?